Right? Is it just
It was never
a choice?
That's the ultimate question, and I claim to this day it was never a concerted effort to make style. I was too busy trying to make a living. And I used the expression deadline style, and I meant it slight-heartedly, and it ended up being a true thing. I was too busy trying to make a living out of it, and whatever came out on time, that was my style. And there were so many better artists than me, not only prior to my run with my father's age era, but the guys that I came into the business with were better than me. And so when I got made fun of and I got told you suck, you're awful, and they'd say, Ma, don't talk to me like that. Way, use it to make you stronger. So keep the chip on your shoulder. He says, whenever you lost a game, whenever we played sports, and we would lose, he said, when you boxed and you lost, don't give me that crying shit. I want to see you toughen up. He said it's the same exact thing. And it translated from work to business to work to personal. And he was 100% correct. So it got me to work harder because I wanted to shut everybody up. But I never expected it to turn to this. And until the day he told me, he says, I may be an overall better artist than you. He says, but you're a better cartoonist than I will ever be, which is such bullshit. I said, Dad, stop, get off, stop drinking the wine tonight, you don't know what you're talking about. He said, no, you're a better storyteller than me, and that makes you a better cartoonist than me. He said, but you'll be a better artist than me because he was 90, I think he was, before he started to lose his faculties. And he said, in a couple of years, you're going to be a better painter than me. He had no ego, which killed me. It's like LeBron James having no ego. You can't be serious. And I say LeBron James because this is the analogy. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player that ever lived, and his son will never be that good. But Bronny James could be an all-star every year for the next 10 years. But he'll never be as good as his father. Now, I don't know if the son's ever going to hold that against his father. I won't. But it will make me a better not basketball player. A better artist, and my jump shot needs work. So he said use it, and he was right 100%. And use it in life as well as business. It's the best advice I've ever gotten. There's always somebody better than you to use it.
Who's an artist that you think is kind of slept on? There's more people.
Jose Luis Garcia Lopez might be one of the greatest illustrators in comics. He's with us, thank God. I gotta go with him.
One of the nicest guys.
Yes. I gotta go with him. And he's a sweetheart, but he's got no fucking ego. I hate that. How do you be that brilliant illustrator unless he's got an ego at home? Honey, I'm the greatest artist in the comic. I just think he's a genius, and I wish he'd get more attention than he. I know it's us that knows who he is, or we know who he is, but he doesn't get enough attention.
And if you don't have it, do yourself a favor and buy that DC style guide.
Great. And he's been around a long time.
Character that you've had a hand in creating that you're most proud of.
Oh, damn. The Prowler. Yeah. And again, I can't tell you enough when Stan Lee hands a name to an artist and it becomes this genius quality character. That's what Stan Lee did with his artists. And he handed the name, now I gave the name up by luck, and then Stan liked it and handed it to Reed Sr. And he created the costume and created the character. You can't come up with this by luck. This is genius. And remember, this is the 60s. And this is an African American kid. How many African Americans were there in comics? Am I right? Am I right? Black Panther. This is genius. Two Jewish guys from Brooklyn come up with the Black Panther. This is genius stuff. And I'm most proud of that Prowler because of that time period and the fact that I was so young. Very, very happy.
I think we might have already gotten to answer this. Character you've never worked on that you'd like to tackle?
Silver Surfer.
I thought you were going to say Wonder Woman.
No, but, and also Doctor Strange. But I say the Silver Surfer because, again, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee comes up to Jack Kirby. I hear this is secondhand information. It's an anecdote. He says, I want to draw God, I want to do God in comics. He says capital G, as opposed to saying a God. And he gives it to Jack Kirby, and Jack Kirby comes up with Galactus. I think 45 minutes later, I draw it. And then he says, brilliant stuff. He designs the costume, and it's World Eater. Fantastic. And he says, but wait a minute, we need the Angel Gabriel. God can't be by himself. Comes up with the Angel Gabriel, the Silver Surfer. My God, this is genius. Without banging people on the head being religious. This is what I'm talking about. And that's the premise, that when a writer comes up to an artist and hands over the Prowler, when he hands something over to releasing the Kingpin, comes up with a gigantic bald-headed fat guy. You cannot, and then becomes a genius character. That is what comics should be. And that's what film should follow comics over. You come up with a premise and turn it into brilliance. And I've been lucky to work on a couple of characters. Andy Senti gives me Typhoid Mary. And I come up luckily with a fantastic character. And then somebody comes up and ruins my whole career with a Dazzler. Than a couple of European artists, because I've been traveling a lot and looking at the international pool, because Marvel has said, without so many words, let's look at the international artists, because we need them just as much as anybody. I've been paying more attention to the European artists. They're brilliant illustrators. But I was younger and they were younger. This is Frank Miller, John Byrne, Jim Lee, the Kubert Boys. My God, it's the same premise as my father and me, the Kubert Boys and their father. And yes, they didn't get abused. I don't know why they didn't get any abuse.
You named the way you walked so they could run.
I don't know, it's because my last name ends in a vowel. They just figured they but there's so many artists that were my age, and again, Frank and I came up the same year. And Jim Lee was a couple of years later, McFarlane came a couple of years later, and so on. But there was the John Burns and Walt Simonsons. They were a couple of years older than me, and it's only a couple of years. But even the ink artists, Klaus Janson is as good an artist that became an ink artist. And Simonson, my God, what a genius. Dead George Ferris was a couple of years older. So again, I would say that the Golden Age guys, Romita Sr., Kirby, and Buscema, set the path for me. But there were guys that were 5 or 6 years older than me that set the path of complete envy and jealousy that I had to follow through on. And none of those guys, the list of guys I just gave you, ever begrudged me getting in the business. Not one of them said a word adverse to me. Even Burns said, listen, this is going to knock you out doing the X-Men. He says, Chris is going to kill you if you do a good book. But he never said anything derisive to me about having a last name of Romita. And Simonson was supportive, and all of those guys that were my age and a couple of years older were supportive. It was the, I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, it was the assholes who were not that good that opened their mouths. And I swear to this day, I could have hit every single one of them, I'd still be in jail. But the talented guys, these brilliant artists, Perez, all of them would shake your hand. I mean, even Al Milgrom, he's a couple years older than me, but Klaus, Al, they were supportive, and the morons that were not were the big mouths.
Well, I mean, you're still here. You're here.
Yeah, I don't know where they are, but my uncles and my cousins took care of everything.